Hello humans, Master Dinnerflex here, bringing you the low quality content you deserve, and today I am finally giving you a new format TCG Lunalight list. Now a lot of this theory has been founded by Sir Emanon, so if you don't know his channel, then I don't know how you know mine. But to put it simply, he was trying out Lunalight Tri-Brigade. And at first I wasn't very confident in that kind of deck until I started playtesting it, and I noticed the insane consistency boost was insane, as you could guess. But the problem I had with the list is it didn't seem to have any advantage over not only Lyrilless Tri, even for this format where they have so many hits, but even it didn't have much of an advantage over just pure Tri. It, made extra things, but had less flexibility, and it was far more fragile. So, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do until I went ahead and tried out his list. And I was playing it, it was really nice, but I still felt that something was missing. So I decided to test around with it, and I went back to old theory of the Raidraptors. Now, in his list, he had both Zephyros and Raider's Wing. And I thought that was pretty good because they are like two completely different tools that give you some insane plays past the point of it gives you a lot of plays having both of them. But what I realized is with one extra main deck slot and a few extra deck changes, I could play the Raidraptors, not even to resolve all of them and get Infinity and whatnot, but the fact that this combo is so powerful, your opponent is always going to have to throw hand traps on it, that you could just, after it gets negated, just continue playing Tri-Brigade or Lunalight. So it was insanely powerful, and the only thing that was added was one more brick, because as I figured out, you don't need to play two Force Tricks. You can actually just play one. And what I want to show you right now is a good hand with this deck and a bad hand, and then we can go into the deck list. So, let's go ahead and get started. Chick Perfume is always going to be insane, but I'll let this speed up. You're going to summon Force Tricks, detach Martin, search Zephyros. We have Foolish Burial Goods. We have Perfume. We could have actually... no, not really. Anyways, I'm kind of speeding through myself. But we search Tiger, activate Tiger, revive Martin, bounce Tiger with Zephyros. And, you can see where this is going. We can turn the Force Tricks and Zephyros into Wise Tricks, which then gets us Raider's Wing out of the deck. And here's the crazy thing. I think the ultimate deciding factor for this, above anything else, was that Wise Tricks is a Tri-type. It's a bird. And because of that, even if everything goes wrong with this engine, just turn this into Farragut and then continue playing, which is one of the big things about this deck is this doesn't need to resolve, but if it does, you're winning very, very hard, which is what you want from this kind of deck. Your opponent has to hand trap just to not auto lose, but they're still probably going to lose, which is very nice. But we have Raider's Wing and Yellow Martin. Now, you might be thinking, okay, it's time to make another Force Tricks. But that's what I figured out earlier. You do not. There's this card. It's called Raider's Knight. Its effect activates to detach. I don't care what else this card does, because it doesn't matter. This card activates, and it doesn't put another brick in your deck, which means we can get the rank up without actually adding another bird or even forced to play another bird. But we actually have some cool options with this card that I'll go into later. But for this test, this is a very early version of the deck. I've made a lot of changes later. And we just go into Arc Rebellion. Like I said, it doesn't matter what you summon. It just matters that it activates. So now we can get the rank up magic, which is infinity, which is insane. It's actually so insane. So we'll go ahead and just summon infinity. No time to waste. Let's just make the rest of our combo Nibiru proof. And then, yeah, there's infinity. And now we have used Zephyros, but we haven't used Yellow Martin. So you can see where this might be going soon. We activate Tiger. Go ahead and revive Kaleido Chick, which will send another Yellow Martin. And what's really cool is we haven't even used the Raider's Wing yet. So we'll detach from the Ark Rebellion. So now we can bounce with Yellow Martin, and we will turn them both into Tiger King, which gets us Tanky, which gets us, of course, Fractal. And now, we're actually going to absorb the Ark Rebellion with Infinity, because this card isn't a Tri-type, which is why I changed this later. But since it's not a Tri-type, it'll kind of just sit on the board and do nothing. And it kind of does nothing while it's on the board. So there's just no point in having it there. I just go ahead and absorb it. And then I link Wise Tricks and Tinky into, guess what? Farragut. Which you can see where this is going. I will say, for some reason, I forgot I hadn't accessed the Tri-Brigades at all. So what you should do is pitch this, send Kit, send Nerval, grab another Fractal, and then do it. So that way your Revolt is just way, way stronger. But I just totally forgot about it. My hand, I guess, was just that insane that I forgot. So we'll go ahead, banish to summon Bearbrum. And then finally, we'll activate Tiger for the last time this turn. Go ahead and revive Kaleido Chick. It can send something else. Yeah, I send something else. Another Yellow Martin. And then, finally, I overlay those two into Redoer, which is really nice, since it can clear itself off the board for Revolt. So during your opponent's standby phase, if you attach a spell or trap, what you can do is you can go ahead and, if it's a spell, you'll just immediately detach the spell and the monster, draw a card, clear it off the board, and Revolt is live. But if it's a trap, you can wait for them to commit a face-up something, spin it, and banish it, and then Revolt is live, which is kind of nice. Really cool interactions with this deck and Redoer. And then we will link those three into Apollosa, and then Fairjet and Bearbrum will trigger so we can block the search. But it doesn't matter at this point, because we already have 4 negate, so chain blocking is just kind of to practice chain blocking, I guess. And then we get Revolt, and as you can see, our end board is Revolt, which should have been better, I'm just an idiot, and Infinity, a 3-material Apollosa, and a Redoer that'll be floating around over and over and over again. So this was a good hand. Let's go ahead and show off a bad hand. So, this hand, it is not great. It is playable, but just barely, and I'll show you how just barely. We're going to activate Keras by discarding the Yellow Martin. We're going to have to activate Perfume to target the Yellow Martin, revive it, but it gets even worse because we have to discard the Revolt. Because if everything bad happens, at least you have an Ash Blossom to try to live and try to draw into a Tri-Brigade. But if you try to keep Revolt, the chances of you doing anything are bad. And it's even worse if this Perfume gets ashed. So, there's, like, not a lot of reason to try to live through this. But we can't even search Tiger. We're going to have to search Kaleido Chick, normal summon it, and dump another Yellow Martin. And then Kaleido Chick will go ahead and make Tiger King, which will get Tinky, which, of course, will get Tiger. And now we can start playing, because we have not used Keras yet. So we're going to revive the Yellow Martin with Tiger. And then we're going to link those two into Fairjet. Now we're going to activate Keras. We're going to banish 2 of the Tri-type. Which, since we have already a Yellow Martin, it doesn't matter that we banish 1. And here's a cool thing. We're going to make Wise Tricks. So, you do not get the bird. Of course not. However, the effect to set a rank up isn't attached to it being link summoned. So if you try it out, you can still go ahead and do that. And now the Yellow Martin's going to bounce the Tiger, which you'll then reactivate Tiger, which will then go ahead and send another Purple Butterfly. This is one of Sir Emanon's theories, and man, it's actually very good. It's a nice thing to have in the deck. Now we are going to make Force Tricks, and we are going to search Bird, which will be Zephyros, and then we get our rank up anyways. So next, I link those 3 off into, yeah, Shureg, which is kind of a weird one. But next, we go ahead and activate the rank up because might as well make, again, our board Nibiru proof. Skipping ahead here. And one of the cool things about making Shureg that way is you can go ahead and get a search. I don't know why. Yeah, I don't. Anyways, so as you can see, I make a Bear Brum with those 2 Tri-Brigade, and that might be a little weird, because I tossed the Revolt. So what is this doing? So, Bear Brum has another effect that people don't ever use unless you're very specifically the Fire Fist FTK. You can discard 2 cards and target one of your banished Tri-types and special summon it. And that's why we search Nerval and why we search Zephyros. So we're going to discard both for Bear Brum to revive the Yellow Martin. And yeah, kind of a cool thing. Not used very often, but the Nerval will trigger to get another Tri-Search, which will be a Cuirass for next turn. And then we have Zephyros Live, which will bounce the Tiger. And then we can activate the Tiger one last time. Kaleido Chick can send another thing. Not too important here, but I guess it's another Tri-type. And then finally, we will link 4 into Apollousa. So with this kind of gutter garbage hand, we have a 4 material Apollousa and Infinity, which isn't that much worse than 3 Oppo, Redoer, Infinity, and Revolt. It's not that much worse, but it's definitely worse, and the hand was far, far worse. It was incredibly fragile, and if you did not know this deck, you would assume it's unplayable. But now that we've got these combos out of the way in like a demonstration, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. So as you can see here, a lot of changes have been done since those demonstration combos. And it's mainly around like the hand traps and some of the secondary theory around it. So let's get into the list. It's not going to be too over-explained because if you've watched this channel and you should know what Lunalights do by this point. 3 Kaleido Chick, 2 Yellow Martin, 1 Emerald Bird, 1 Tiger, and Purple Butterfly. Purple Butterfly is important in modern Lunalight builds because there's a lot of importance around making Tiger King. Tiger King has become very, very, very important to a lot of these plays, and Purple Butterfly is effectively just a Stygian Street Patrol in the graveyard. It can banish itself to special summon a Lunalight from the hand. So if you like have Chick, Martin, that's full combo, which is really important for Butterfly, and it wouldn't be possible without Butterfly. So this is a very good tech. White Rabbit's also a good one, but I don't think it's main deck worthy, but it's definitely side deck worthy. Then for your birds, you have Zephyros the Elate and Raider's Wing. Yep, they're not only are they good for the XC and the Lunalight part, but they're also good for the Tri-Brigade part, because Revolt can put this back into your graveyard, which is nice, and they're both the Tri-type. And then 3 Fractal, Tur-Care-Ass, 1 Nerval, 1 Kit. You could definitely bump up the Kit and Nerval up, because they're very great discard outlets for like Perfume and Serenade Dance, because you just get extra card advantage. I'm struggling to get the final build out, because as you can see on that side deck, this makes no sense, and it's because it makes no sense. So that's like it for the Tri-Brigade. And then finally, this is going to look a little weird, and I will need to explain it a little bit. So I am... What? No, you... I will need to explain this. So... Dangers are very good with Lunalights. Not only are they good discard outlets, but they're a good draw package, and they're good extenders. But the reason you play Dangers and Lunalights is because they're a consistency boost. And that's why a lot of old builds, and even a lot of newer, like, non-Tri-Brigade versions, have a really heavy Danger package, like with as many Dangers as you can possibly play that aren't terrible. So why not only are they so minimal, but more importantly, why did I choose Bigfoot and Thunderbird over, like, Nessie and Snake, which it doesn't matter if they're discarded or not? And that's very simple. The reason I am playing the Tri-Brigade version was to add a new layer of consistency to the Lunalights. And because of that, I don't feel that I should sacrifice even more of the slots in the deck to consistency boosters. But the Dangers are at a minimum because I still want that option as extenders, as draw power, and, like, decent effects. But then why are they not Snake or Nessie? And it's very simple. Because of the fact that I'm not banking on them resolving, I actually wanted a toolbox with these Dangers. Because, let's face it, we are going to see a lot of, like, either Build-A-Board or Set 5. And into Build-A-Board or Set 5, Bigfoot and Thunderbird are exceptional. Because Bigfoot especially, if your opponent has Wandering Griffin Rider and you activate Bigfoot, if this resolves, it outs the Griffin Rider. It's that simple. It just outs it. And that's kind of a problem, because do they actually want to waste a negate on a Bigfoot? Does that actually mean something to them? And that's kind of tricky from their perspective, but it even goes in a more so scenario with, like, multiples of them, and it's why I consider, like, maybe you should bump up Bigfoot to multiples, because the point of these cards are not to go first, it's actually to go second. Because this deck can already combo out the ass, like, you don't need help going first, unless you bricked hard. But even if you bricked hard, these are still Dangers. Are they worse than Nessie and the Snake? Yes, but not by that much. Because this is a big beater. If your opponent flips Skill Drain thinking, haha, I'm so good, I either resolve Bigfoot, control a big beater, and draw closer to my out, or I discard it and I out Skill Drain. Like, there's no winning in what happens to Bigfoot against the stun decks, and it's the same with Thunderbird. But while Thunderbird is worse into established boards, it's a dark bird, which means you can make force tricks with it. So, like, that's the theory behind these two Dangers, and if I were to bump them up, it would actually be bumping these up, because they are playing into a board better than the other ones without actually needing to do anything. And then the final reason is that Snake and Nessie are not Tri-types. And because of that, if you're actually summoning them in more complicated game states, they could just sit there and do nothing. Like, I don't care if Nessie is a 2800 wall if I'm not outing my opponent's board. Especially if I'm trying to bait with, like, Tri-Brigades or I'm trying to do things. So, it ultimately comes down to these Dangers have higher go second potential, while at the same time not interfering with any Tri-Brigade part of the deck. And then finally, you have not lived until you have Cuirass, discarded Jackalope. That is the honest truth. That's the reason. For the spells, triple Foolish Burial Goods, triple Perfume, 1 Tanky, 1 Foolish, 1 Shoal Save Force. I know a lot of people say, wow, this is the worst brick in the deck. You can't draw this. You can't draw this. The only time you don't want to draw this is if you cannot make a rank 4 plus another monster going first, or you cannot make a rank 4 period going second. And if that's the case, that is both unplayable on both parts of the thing. So this hand made a bad hand worse, but it also couldn't have been a card that makes a bad hand better, because there's not really a consistency card this can be. But if your hand is remotely playable, let's say you throw a Raider's Wing into an established board, and they say they negate and destroy the card. Okay, Soul Shaped Force, I'm going to make Infinity now. Like, this baits out another negate, or if you used all their negates, now Infinity gets to absorb something and negate one of their cards. Like, it's that simple. This card is very nice. I think people vastly overestimate how bad it is to draw. Like, it can suck sometimes, but it only sucks in a hand that was not going to play to begin with. Because if you're going to go into an established board with it, you already had to have the ability to play through multiple cards. Like, that's the truth. Like, this card isn't much of a brick, honestly. It just isn't. And then 2 Cosmic Cyclone, because I want something not only for back row decks, but also has a nice benefit of also just randomly hitting Phantom Knights, because they, like, hey, I'm gonna pop Scythe, and you Cosmic Cyclone their ass. That's pretty nice. And then 1 Called by the Grave. This card should be banned, so that's why it's in the main deck. And then for the traps, 1 Serenade Dance trap, obviously. This is definitely a trap, definitely not just a spell monster. And then 1 Revolt. You don't need multiple, honestly. You just don't. It's also like a card that doesn't synergize too great with the rest of the deck. If you think Soul Shaped Force is a hard brick, this is it and then some, honestly. As funny as it is, you have to gravitate the whole strategy around it. But for the last of the cards are going to be the hand traps, and these hand traps might look a little weird, but it's triple Ghost Ogre, triple Infinite Impermanence. Now, a lot of people are taking the strategy of just hard flooding their main deck with a bunch of hand traps this format, and I actually don't think that's very good because of specifically the adventurer tokens. Because you can always assume 1 hand trap will never resolve. You can always assume the first hand trap you're playing isn't going to do anything, so you have to build your deck to draw 2 hand traps. But that's where it gets even worse, because the decks that are playing the adventure stuff, they could already play through hand traps. Like, there's not a deck that can't play through a single disruption. Like, not a meta deck that can't play through a single disruption, because if a deck is that fragile, it's not being played. It's that simple. So your actual strategy is to draw 3 hand traps and then full combo. And that is never going to happen in a deck like this. So I'm not even going to pretend like I'm going to try to do that. But what instead I decided to do is I do need to play hand traps, but I'm going to play hand traps that can be my 6th card and still work just as well. And that's what both Ghost Ogre and Infinite Impermanence do. Now, Infinite Impermanence, this has been a thing for a while. People know about that. But Ghost Ogre is really good this format because of the adventure package. Their continuous spell has to stay face up to resolve, and in addition, the Wandering Griffin Rider has to stay face up to resolve. So if you Ghost Ogre both of them, nothing happens, and that's just one less thing you have to worry about. And, like, that's where Cosmic Cyclone could be really good against, like, the DPE and Scythe. That's the idea with Ghost Ogre, but it also is fine to be the 6th card in, like, more negation scenarios, because let's say your opponent's playing Tri-Brigade, and you start playing, and then you negate with Appaloosa. Okay, Ghost Ogre the Appaloosa. My effect resolves. It has to stay face up to resolve, and because of that, Ghost Ogre is so effective against it. It's actually just so effective against so much. The reason we weren't playing it is because we've had a lot of formats where it wasn't effective against everything, and it didn't really get you much of anywhere. But now with 3 teleport, and we have a format where it hits a lot of things, Ghost Ogre is actually pretty nice. And it's one of the very few hand traps that doesn't care if it's in your first 5 or your 6th card, because it does the exact same thing still. Next, like Infinite Permanence, there's no need to explain this. You already know how this works. For the side deck, none of this is real, if you couldn't have guessed. But I will say, I've been testing Blizzard a lot. This card might actually be pretty nice, because a lot of people, they go, like, in order to stop all the cards in the format, they'll go, like, Judgment or a Pointer of Red Lotus. But what I've learned is that a lot of things you're worried about this format, like in the side deck, are spells. Outside of Evenly Matched, but the thing with Evenly Matched is, I think it's the same scenario due to the Wandering Griffin Rider, where it might not be optimal, because you're actually activating side deck cards to bait out negates. And because of that, I don't see Evenly Matched being as effective, but it could be, because Evenly Matched's interaction with tokens is kind of insane. So it's up in the air. But Blizzard has a lot of cool applications where not only does it negate Dark Ruler, negates Regeki, or negates Lightning Storm for the entire turn, even droplets if they don't discard a spell. But in addition, you can just activate this while your opponent's like, haha, I'm going to sit on mine. Okay, draw this for turn, target your mine, it's negated, I'm going to go for game. Like, it's that simple. It's probably one of the craziest outs to Mystic Mine, because it's not one they expect, honestly. So it's pretty cool. But outside of that, the extra deck is 1 Force Strix, 1 Tiger King, 1 Redoer. If you're playing a Lunalight variant at all, you need Redoer. And then Raider's Knight. So this is the one you play over the second Force Strix, and originally I was playing the Arc Rebellion. This has a really good going second effect, which is the only time where what Raider's Knight summons actually matters. But the actual best one I discovered is Blaze Falcon. So this can be summoned with Raider's Knight. And it says it can attack your opponent directly. Oh, an XC attacking directly? I wish there was an XC that benefited from that. But, when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it. That's pretty cool. But here's the real effect I care about. Once per turn, you can detach 1 XC material from this card, destroy all special summon monsters your opponent controls, and inflict 500 damage for each. So, one of the problems I was having with this deck earlier is that it didn't have a great, like, a bunch of rank 4s that threaten an established board. This one does that very well. Same with Tiger King. Tiger King is pretty good at threatening an established board, but this one's like 30 times that. Your opponent has to negate everything about this card or they lose everything. So that is pretty cool. And then, like, even if you don't want to destroy your opponent's stuff, you can, like, send it with Zeus, but I don't think that matters too much, because you get to Regeki your opponent's board, and then establish Zeus afterwards. Like, that's kind of insane. Infinity for the rank up. Zeus, Sky Thunder. Wise Tricks, of course. 2 Bear Blossom. 1 Rampart. 2 Shureg. 1 Apollosa. 1 Access Code. This extra deck is actually insanely tight. I was working on the real-life version of this deck, because I'm building it very slowly. Or, actually, kind of quickly. But, I noticed, like, I'm wanting like 3 to 4 side deck slots just for extra deck monsters. Because, like, I want to play Abyss Dweller, I want to play Exciton, because it's, like, very similar to Raider's Knight, where it can clear the board, but Exciton does it better against back row decks. Like, I want to play Tornado Dragon, I want to play all these cards, but there's just no room. But, like, games 2 and 3, I could, like, side out the rank up, I could side out Infinity, and I can, like, side out a bunch of extra deck monsters, and then, like, have an extra deck geared for that specific deck. And it's actually, I think, probably an honest win condition for this deck, because, like, your main deck is always going to do the same thing. It's just what it's doing can be blank depending on your opponent's, depending on your extra deck. So, I was thinking about just addressing that. But that's it for the deck. Thank you all for watching. You hopefully enjoyed this video. I'm going to link to Sir Emanon's channel. If by some universe you don't know who he is, but you know who I am, just by that off chance. He's pretty good with Lunalights. He's very, very good with Lunalights, honestly. He's the person I've taken a lot of theory from and talked a lot of theory on with him. So it's like pretty cool that we get to play this deck again, and it's very fun. Do I think this version of the deck is like the best, optimal, final version? Probably not. But I actually think there's probably a direction this deck can go, because once I realized like the Tri version can casually play the Raidraptor stuff is when I got really interested in the Tri version, because I felt like their entire setup loses to a single spell or trap, which is what like Infinity addresses. And one final thing I will say. If you take this deck seriously, consider, and like, this also has to happen that this deck becomes good enough that people start addressing it, consider turning Infinity into Norito. Because one of the ways you can beat both boards I made is by just playing Mega Fleet. That's like one of the ultimate downsides of Infinity, is that yes, it makes monster negation early against hand traps, but it loses hard to opening up one extra deck slot. So if you're worried about that, you'll just reorganize the combo to make Apollosa early, and instead of Infinity, you'll make Norito. And Norito is just a spell or trap negate, which is what you want. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you all for watching, and remember, Master Interflex will take your soul.